He calls himself an inspirational humorist. He was born with a vascular malformation. The veins in his face, head, neck, throat, and tongue have continued to grow throughout his life. He calls his facial difference an incredible gift because it made him look inside himself to find beauty and self-worth. He's also spent more than 30 years as a solo performer and public speaker, and he says his latest book is about finding and nurturing a positive sense of himself and encouraging it in others. Here to talk about standing at the back door of happiness and how I unlocked it is David Roche. Welcome.
Thank you, John.
So the book isn't a straight up A to Z memoir per se, because you've already done that, but it's a collection of 28 bite-sized essays. What made you write the book?
Life made me write the book. I just wrote about my experiences, and people think, well, that's kind of a memoir, isn't it? But it's not. They're usually my stories, but if you look for a thread, you'll find a sense of community, of family, of relationship, which is how I have survived and thrived over the years with my facial difference.
Now, the book is, I guess, in a loosely chronological order, but you can also open it up at any place in the book and take a little nugget of wisdom away. Was that kind of the design there?
I think that was the editor's design,
Oh.
but I like it. It's fine.
The first essay is titled "For the Love of Scars." Why should we love our scars, and what do they say about us?
You know, that's my favorite piece in the whole book. Um, and it was kind of like automatic writing. I didn't plan out this and this and this. I just let it flow. Um, and I say things like scars are the adoptees in the family of flesh. And the scars have a purpose of protecting nerves. They do the hard work uh, in life as part of the human body, uh, always. And they get a bad rep a lot of times. They say, "Oh, I gotta hide my scars." No, be proud of your scars. They're doing a good job for you.
Some would call them a badge of honor.
I think that kind of goes back to medieval times, but there's still some truth in it. You've lived. If you have scars, you've lived.
As you write, scars are about healing, scars are about forgiveness. Scars help us forget pain and loss. They do a lot of things.
I would love to have that be a book title. And thank you for picking that up, John.
The last essay of the book, and it kind of it's a kind of a call and answer to the first essay. It's entitled Picasso. You talk about how you got better at looking in the mirror. What happened? How did that become a reality?
Well, throughout my life, John, I did not look in the mirror. In a sense, I did. I get up in the morning, wash up, look at myself, look myself in the eyes, and I try to look as cute as possible. Good morning, Dave. And here we go. I didn't like look at, oh my God, this is growing, this is bad, this is awful. Um, I just accepted myself. Now, that changed with the internet because I found myself looking at myself on a screen, and it's pretty unavoidable when you sit there for like an hour and you're on Zoom or whatever it used to be, Skype, and you can't avoid looking at yourself. And I just had this incident where I saw something that I did not recognize as my own face. It's just like one, I don't know what you would describe something like that, but it shocked me. It shocked me deeply. And I had a very brief time when I had to piece all the pieces together as if it were a Picasso painting. And I had to adjust to that. So that was a shock. I didn't like it, but it helped.
But you're more comfortable with it now.
There's always a substratum of discomfort. Uh, I do feel very accepting of myself. I actually think that I'm quite cute. And I believe that because people tell me that. And I think like, oh, they're just being nice to the little disfigured guy. But no, they think I'm cute. And somehow I, I carry it off. So there you go.
Does some of that come from within then?
I think what comes from within is a history of, I was raised and born into a feminist family because I was born during the Second World War. My father was living in Stalag 17, a Nazi prisoner of war camp, and my mother, her two sisters, my grandmother, and my grandfather did not know if he was going to come back. So when I was born, I was like King David. And because I was a treasure at that time, in a time of war and horror. Um, so I had that family background. I was never teased in my family. One of 7 kids. Well, it helps being the eldest, that's for sure. And then the other thing that influenced me positively, aside from the family roots and morality, if you will, was going to a Catholic school where the nuns told me things like, you are a soul. I didn't know exactly what a soul was. I thought maybe it lived, somewhere near my heart in some kind of vague, cloudy thing. Well, actually, in first grade, Sister Imelda said, your soul is like a bottle of milk. And when you commit a sin, it's like putting dirt into the milk. Well, they're like, oh, geez, I don't want to do that. But I got support. They told me I was a child of God. And that got me through those formative years up to age 13 when I went to apply to the seminary to study to be a Catholic priest, 13 years old. That's the way they did it in those days. And we know there are many horrible stories about that. But I went to the Holy Cross Seminary in Notre Dame, and I was told that I was too ugly to be a priest. And that was just like being whacked with a 2x4 because I had this whole history of support and love. And then all of a sudden, when you grow up Catholic, at that time, the voice of the priest is the voice of God. So I heard God telling me that I was a monster. That is actually the worst thing that ever happened to me in terms of a judgment about my face. The nature of it, the quality, the timing, all horrible. Well, I'm kind of digressing here, John, so forgive me.
That's perfectly all right. You call yourself an inspirational humorist. You've been sharing this story, your story, for decades. What question do you get asked the most by audiences, by people who hear your story?
Well, these are not real glorious questions of like one is, does your face hurt? I say, well, sometimes it does, and I need to explain that. And another common question is, if you could have an operation and have a normal face for the rest of your life, would you do that? And I answer, no, I wouldn't do that. Here's what I would like. I have 4 brothers. They're all good looking. Uh, if I could like be like one of my brothers for like say 6 months, just to see what that's like, I would like to try that.
You also
So
talk in the book about the power of listening. There's a lot about your sharing your story, but then you also talk about the power of listening. Why is that so important?
I think that is listening is part of caring, and it's part of the things that taught me strength, family, relationships, community, friendship. Um, it's, oh God, I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man, but sometimes I am, okay? I felt like I grew up in an era where listening was more prevalent and more important. We had family, had community, had school, had church, had the neighborhood, and listening was all part of that. Seeing the other person as a human being. There's looking deeply, and there's listening. So I think it's a very important human quality. It kind of fits in there with give drink to the thirsty and things like that. And say, well, listen to the people who don't get listened to. And certainly could use a lot of that nowadays.
Well, speaking of nowadays, it seems more than ever society is consumed with looks. We have people getting Botox injected into their faces, fillers, Instagram filters to make our faces look perfect on social media. Do you worry the world is getting more superficial and not less?
Um, I don't just worry, I notice it, I see it, and it happens all the time. Um, and it gets more prevalent due to the internet, which is not good. And and it's all the things that you just mentioned in your question. That those are the things, and then but behind that, always is that someone is getting rich off of this. There's the whole money factor that comes in. So if you're not good looking, well, at least you can get rich by manipulating other people.
What do you hope people get out of the book?
I, I I have not formulated a hope for that. But when you ask that, and I love that question, I would say that they see and hear and read about how I connect with other people. Listening, yes, that would be a really key thing. Listening and being able and willing to look inside yourself to find your true beauty. I have difficulty answering that kind of question, John, because I seem like, well, it's just like the same old stuff. But it is the same old stuff. But there's a reason why it's the same old stuff. Yeah, so if you're standing at the back door of happiness, guess what? We all are. So there's a way in, and that's not by yourself, but with other people.
That's a fine place to leave it, David. Standing at the Back Door of Happiness and How I Unlocked It is available from Harper Publishing. My thanks to author David Roche.